welcome back to Anti-Misery-Mus. This is my version of Vlogmas where I try and make videos to cheer you up if you're really genuinely not feeling the Christmas spirit. That is totally fine. Today I wanted to tell you a few films that I always go to that give me what other people call a Christmassy feeling, but are in fact not really annoying Christmas videos or films, may not evoke those kind of memories that you maybe don't want to think about, or just you just don't want an actual Christmas film. You kind of feel not in the mood for it, whether you feel like it's obnoxious or it's just not the time for you, but you still want that feeling of elation, coziness, general human togetherness, a little bit of hope, a little bit of gumption. I have a little list for you. Now I've got a few that I don't think you will have heard of, or maybe you probably have. Like they've still got famous people in them, but they're not like canon. They're not up there in like the top 100 films like ever from the film bros, and they're not ones that I hear talked about a lot on the internet. But I've also got some ones that you probably have heard of, so I'm not going to go into those ones in as much detail. But first up, one film that I will defend over my dead, rotting, toe-curling corpse is Where the Heart Is. This film has had so much bad rap, mainly because of the cover. The cover is so bad, guys. Like, oh, why? It's almost like it got out of the cutting room and it was in production and somebody just decided that they hated this film and they were going to sabotage it by putting this cover on it. But basically, it's one of those sweeping stories that covers loads of years of somebody's life, and it's Natalie Portman. She's pregnant. She is on a trip with her very suspicious boyfriend, and he's got a hole in the bottom of his car and her shoes fall out the bottom of the car. So he pulls over at a Walmart. She gets out to go and buy some flip-flops. She doesn't have any money on her, any bags or anything, and when she comes back, he has driven away. So she lives in the Walmart for a while, and that is only the very first like 10 minutes of the film. It kind of goes through all the people that kind of adopt her. It's loads about found family, finding your reason to keep going through loads of different consecutive disasters in your life, and surrounding yourself with people who truly care about you. And it's so wholesome. It is lovely. There's loads of familiar faces in it that I think you'll love, and it's just one of those epic. It doesn't seem what it is on the outside, and what it is on the inside are very different. So I encourage taking a bite and seeing what's in the filling, because I really genuinely think it's so much better than a lot of those kind of rom-coms from that era that are really famous. And it has loads of famous people in it, so I don't know why people don't talk about it more. Anyway, the next one, The Intern. I am a really big fan of, and they're quite scarce to be honest, films where it's like a younger person and an older person and they're friends and there's nothing funny going on, and it's especially when it's like a woman and a man and the woman's younger, that somehow at some point in the production line somebody decides it has to be sexual, and I hate it. But anyway, this is Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway, and Anne Hathaway is this is one of the films where it's like, finally, a woman that we're seeing not at the beginning of her career, but thriving in her career. She started this amazing startup that actually now has like hundreds of employees, and she's really on top of it, but secretly she's struggling a little bit with herself, and they have an intern scheme for elderly interns. And this guy who is so sweet and has lost his wife comes to intern, and he is the person that takes her seriously and talks to her about his work life and encourages her and tells her like how to have a backbone with herself, basically, without being patronizing. And it's about like the kind of trust issues she has with him and his faith in himself, and it doesn't get sexual or weird at any point. It's just a really wholesome, again, found family, I guess, kind of film, and I guarantee it will give you a little bubble of that equivalent Christmas happiness. Someone Great, again, is a rom-com about friendship. It's about the end of a relationship. One day, again, that's quite manageable. Another thing that I quite like about films that are like calming and wholesome is they happen over a really small period of time. Something Great is about a woman who breaks up this huge relationship in her life and has one day where she calls on all the favors from her two friends and is like, you've got to skip work, you have to, like, this has to be, I just need you, we need to do something about my life. So it's all about these three completely different friends coming together, helping her out and going through her own stuff. And spoiler, she doesn't get back to the guy she doesn't get back with the guy in the end. Getting out, Lena. Which is what makes it great, and why I'd want to know that about a film before I watch it. And it's all, I guess the title is about finding someone great as you. So if you're really not in the Christmas spirit because you're going through a breakup, would highly recommend. Really, really funny, beautifully shot. I loved it. It was so convincing. The Farewell. This is about a family who are, and this is kind of not a spoiler, but maybe like losing a older person in their family. So I think if you're feeling that, or you've been through that, this might be an interesting and nice film, hopefully, to watch. It's really uplifting. It has some really funny moments. The girl in it has to go back to China to see her grandparents and navigate a very funny but awkward farce in which they're all kind of lying to each other about a situation. That's all I'll say. But it's really funny. It's about tradition versus modernity and navigating having dual nationality when two sides of the family feel very differently about those nationalities. And it has like loads of like family parties and stuff like in it without it being about Christmas. And it's incredible. I should probably buy it, you know, because I'd really like to watch it again. I've only seen it in the cinema, but I thought it was really incredibly and sensitively done. And the woman who plays the main character is incredible. Julie and Julia, you don't need me to talk anymore about this film. I really like hobby-based films where it's about a person who has a hobby and like their main problem is they're failing at their passion or their hobby or their task. And that can be like a real, that can be the plot point. Like, why does it have to be a romantic thing or a family thing that's causing the big stopgap in somebody's life that creates plot? It could also be like you failing at this thing that you're trying to make sense out of. And anyway, this is Amy Adams, and she is working at a call center trying to help people who have been affected by 9/11 and like insurance stuff. It's really depressing and really, really hard for her. And her way that she escapes is cooking her way through Julia Child's cookbook. In another timeline, our Lord and Saviour Meryl Streep is playing Julia Childs as an American in Paris, cooking her way through French cooking, and it is just one of the most beautiful films about women having passions and the people that love them. And there's just so many relationships in that I could cry over right now, but I won't because I must move on and tell you about the next film. The last film is Captain Fantastic. This is about a family who have decided to live outside of civilization and the contradictions with that come with it as well. And it kind of does critique this idea of like just building Marxism for yourself in the woods and like not changing anything systemically. But it's about grief. It's about a family who lose their mum and them coming to terms with the fact that they don't live within the structures of society that allow them to grieve in the right ways. But it's also kind of really anti-capitalist, and they have like Noam Chomsky Day instead of like Christmas, and they do loads of stuff that's like outside of society. And it's funny because I think also I might point to this film as something that I would say when people are like, why aren't you having children? And like part there's loads of reasons, but one of them is like, if I was gonna have children, I'd probably there would be part of me that would have an urge to raise them like this, and that is quite a lot of effort. So I'm not going to do it, but like it's a fascinating thought experiment in how you could raise children if you didn't want to send them to school or you wanted to live by example and remove them from the capitalist system. But it gives me the warm fuzzies. I really like it. It's a fave. And also just 3 suggestions that you've probably already heard of, but again, if you're looking to feel that Christmassy, non-Christmas feeling, always work for me. 1, Sister Act 2. Superior to Sister Act 1. I'm taking no questions on this front. Calendar Girls, a classic. And then also Pride. I mean, I don't even need to sell the film Pride to you, but wow, I don't think I've really seen the last 10 minutes of that film because I just have like glazed tears over my eyes. Like I've only seen shapes and the credits are unknown to me, even though I've seen it loads of times. But anyway, this is just a beginner list. Please tell me your non-Christmassy Christmas films in the comments below because I would love to hear about them, and I'm definitely going to be spending December curling up with a few of them because we all need it. We need to feel that comfort feeling even if it's not Christmassy. Thank you so much for watching. This video has been made possible by the Gumption Club, and you can watch some more Christmassy or non-Christmassy, however you feel, videos here. Frog Snog out.